Sekarang.
Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Our webinar will begin, and make sure your internet connection is stable and your microphone is on mute during the session. Also, please take a moment to fill out the attendance form provided in the chat later. We appreciate your coming. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. The title is Language Assessment Literacy, Benefits and Challenges. Hosted by Nur Rahmawati, and my name is Hanifah Riastuti, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Okay, the session is going to be packed with valuable insights and engaging discussion, so stay tuned until the end. Before starting, I would like to read our agenda today. The first one is opening and then speech. The third one is keynote speaker, and the fourth one is question and answer, and the last is closing. Okay, Bapak Ibu, let's start our meeting today by saying basmalah together.
Benar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you. Hopefully our meeting will run smoothly. Bapak Ibu, let's continue to the second agenda, that is speech. To officially begin, we'd like to invite Ismi Fazri M.Pd to give the opening remarks. Okay, the screen is yours. Bu Ismi.
Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Salam sehat, salam bahagia. Our distinguished speaker, Bapak Dr. Fazri, Ibu dan Bapak, members MGMP Bantul, and I cannot see whether there is outside members, outside participant or not. But if there is, good morning also for participant from outside MGMP Bahasa Inggris Bantul. First of all, I would like to apologize. Maybe Ibu dan Bapak or Pak Fazri see my face really mess because after 12 hour flights, and even I just wash my face with air wudu in here in Blue Mosque. I'm here at the moment we are in Marmara University, just pretty close to Blue Mosque. Well, Ibu dan Bapak, just wanna let you know that several months ago I have make a kind of MOU with Pak Fazri. I think it's a great honor for MGMP Bahasa Inggris Bantul, as Pak Fazri would like to be our learning partner, and even for welcome Bu Reti, thank you for joining. Even in August 14, Pak Fazri will will come to Jogja and meet with us offline. So I do hope that Ibu dan Bapak, though it is not Tuesday, it is not our MGMP meeting day, I do hope that Ibu dan Bapak can, save the date. I think if it is not mistaken, it is on Thursday, yeah? Okay, so we, of course, from the board of MGMP will provide a letter for the exit permit. Well, Ibu dan Bapak, Pak Fazri will also at the moment run his research about assessment, yeah, Pak Fazri. So hopefully we can help Pak Fazri to collect the data. But above all, I'm pretty sure that during our collaboration with UP, we will get much advantages, especially when we have any question about the current, well, it is actually deep learning is not the current matter, ya, Ibu dan Bapak, because I'm pretty sure that all of us have already implemented the deep learning in our teaching and learning process. I think that's all for me. Thank you for the board of MGMP. Thank you for all participants who have who have come and enjoy learning with Pak Fazri. Pak Fazri, again, thank you so much. And I do apologize if I cannot follow the workshop until the end of the session. But it is because of some consideration. Okay, I think that's all. Enjoy learning together with Pak Fazri. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat, salam sejahtera.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh. Thank you, Bu
iya,
Ismi. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Bu Ismi, for the speech and enjoy your journey. Okay, Bapak Ibu, now let's move on to the main part of our session, that is presentation. Today we are honored to welcome our speaker, Dr. Fazri Nur Yusuf, M.Pd, and he is an associate professor at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia with over 20 years of experience in English language education. He is a member of TEFLI, Teaching English as Foreign Language in Indonesia, Asia TEFL, and Himpunan Pengembang Kurikulum atau Hopkin. His academic journey began with undergraduate and graduate degrees from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, followed by a doctoral degree from Universitas Negeri Malang in 2017. And he has been a dedicated lecturer since 2003, involved in teaching, curriculum development, and program management. His research focuses on English foreign language curriculum and instruction and English foreign language teacher education. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Dr. Fazri Nur Yusuf, M.Pd. The floor is yours.
Right. Thank you very much, Hanifa, Ibu Ismi, and the board of Bantul Teacher Association. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's a great honor for me to be here with you all. I believe that it's not laser time for you after spending some time teaching at schools, and I hope that the moment that you spend today will again, thank you very much for welcoming me and then meeting the invitation that I sent to Ibu Ismi on the other day. Actually, the point is not only about having a collaboration, but also sharing session. So what I'm going to share today and in the future, I hope this collaboration can continue. Again, thank you very much for you all. Another thing, of course, we belong to two different cities where English is spoken as EFL context. That's why here I do expect that every one of you can see the background, just in case few of you, I guess, have not visited Bandung. This is the icon of my university, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. So I welcome you all warmly to come to Bandung, to visit Bandung and to visit my university. All right. Today, I'm going to share you this topic, which probably is not new to every one of you. Again, thank you very much for the sharing, and thank you very much for giving me the chance of having this. Actually, this is not alone as a part of my project, a research project and community service project, but also I'd love to share this issue with you all because not only because of the current trend of deep learning, the current trend of um, some dynamics that you are facing. Let's say the ministry has been changed and some new policies come here and there, but of course the existence of teachers are still there. You all, I'm very proud of you, are the main components of the education, or especially in EFL classroom instruction. So be proud of you as the English teacher. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the outline of my presentation today will be, as I told you, probably this is new to many of you, the so-called language assessment literacy. But I need to highlight few points so that we are on the same track. And then later on, we will see the benefits of language assessment literacy and some facts and challenges. Then what we can do to overcome the challenges and few practical applications. I do expect that I can spend 30 to 40 minutes, and after that, there would be question and answer. Again, it is not putting me as the only resource person for this issue. I believe that you have plenty of experiences and then trainings, formal educations or non-formal or informal trainings, which I believe that you can bring along. So that's why this presentation is aimed at providing not only new information, but also, of course, to refresh everybody's understanding on assessment literacy in particular, language assessment literacy. Right. What is language assessment literacy? Okay. This is one thing that you can refer to. I believe that every one of you, because you're a teacher, you're assigned to design your assessment. We know there are some terms of assessment, testing, assessment, evaluation, right? But then one thing that we need to understand when you design the assessment, this is a part of language assessment literacy. You know, when designing assessment in your EFL classroom, of course, there would be some requirements that you have to fulfill. Then once you're done with the assessment, administering the assessment, and there is a time for you to how be useful not only for grading, but of course for you, yeah, as a teacher, because there are some other terms relevant to this. Then it will also inform you not only about the instruction, but also about the assessment, future assessment in particular. Then probably the general understanding of assessment is grading your students. That's why it is important to understand that having the language assessment literacy anyway should somehow enhance learning. On the one hand, so it means that you help your students to learn better, and then on the other hand, enhance the teaching. As we know, teaching is a part of our daily routine, but of course, do not let our daily routine as it is. There is a way for you to improve. Another thing that probably is not new, but not many are aware of, that language assessment literacy that teachers have should somehow shape language learning experiences. If you design a lesson plan, for instance, and then you design the learning activities and later on the assessment, most of the time the focus is on the teacher. Then how, by having this language assessment literacy, we do shifting from the teacher-centered to the student-centered, so that the students will have the experience of language learning by themselves. So that's why there are some important ideas that you can find later in my presentation. Another thing, what is assessment? This is a very general term, that assessment is a systematic process of measuring individual or group of individuals for the purpose of making decisions. So if you refer to this definition, we do not find specifically that the purpose of assessment is to grade, right? But then to make decision. So that's why there are three important points that we need to highlight. The first one is our assessment should be organized systematically. So if you just grab a textbook or you design your assessment with no well plan, or you just do the so-called impromptu assessment, then it is not an assessment. Yeah. So if you look at your students and you find that your students should have a task, for instance, or an assessment, then you do assessment without any preparation, it is not an assessment. So assessment should be organized systematically. It is important to highlight that, and it should ring a bell to any teacher in the world, at least in Bantul. The second one, it can be administered to individuals or to groups of individuals. So it means that we understand that classroom activities most of the time focus on individuals, focus on students. But then in our assessment context, then we can somehow address the students or send the students into groups and do the assessment in the groups. But of course, there would be some conflicts or some challenges when assessing individuals in the groups. I use this joke to my students, bekerja sama. Some students are bekerja and some other students are only bersama. About the assessment, what they are supposed to do in the assessment designed by the teacher. And last thing, to make decision. Again, to make decision is not only intended for grading. Many of us do assessment because of grading, making decision to grade the students. Later on, I will address this issue because this is very important to understand that the grading may or may not inform your students at all. Let's say if a student gets 90 out of 100, what does it mean? In reading comprehension, for instance, what does it mean? A student gets 99 out of 100 of his English score. what does it mean with 99 out of 100? Because, if you go to schools, we have been involved in the 4 language skills. And then so far, probably some schools, especially in my place in Bandung, they are now administering the final assessment. And when I ask them what kind of assessment, actually the assessment is number one, paper-based test, and the second one focusing on written language cycle, reading and writing. And when I asked about what about the listening and speaking, and then they mentioned we focus listening and speaking in, what do you call it? The practice exam, giving them the exam to practice out of the official written examination. Of course, there would be big question why we need to focus on written assessment. Of course, there would be some points that we can discuss further. Right. I think everyone is familiar with this, that there is a very close connection among or between assessment and instruction among the points here that I show you in the figure. The school, of course, need to have evaluation, and each subject needs to have the program evaluation. So the group of teachers in the school needs to understand that the results of their teaching, the results of or the grades that their students get should somehow inform the schools, especially the school manager, to decide to make decisions further. So do not let alone that you, the only person who knows exactly or who is well informed with the results of assessment. But there is a need for you to understand that the results of the classroom assessment should somehow inform the school as well. Then we have also assessment and classroom reflection, which is the main responsibility of the teacher, of course. So each subject will somehow inform themselves about the students, but of course about the instruction that they are doing. So every teacher should get the information as many as possible to make their teaching better, to make their assessment better. Right. Right. The next thing is there is a classroom instruction. So classroom instruction is not only defined by your own plan, instructional design or lesson plan. But your classroom instruction should also be informed with the assessment that you did to the same group of students or from the past group of students that you taught. So it is also important to see how you were successful and how the success can somehow help you to make your teaching better and better. And last thing, of course, lesson plan. Instructional design can somehow help you with this designing not only a better instruction, but also a better assessment in the future. For sure, classroom instruction is very much informed. Okay. All right. I think we are also familiar with this, that we have 3 domains: knowledge domains, skill domains, and behavior domain. All right. Okay. Can anyone share which one? Is it a knowledge based, skill based, or behavioral based? Okay, you can share in the chat box if any. Anyone? Okay, good. Right. We did 3 aspects. Okay. Knowledge, skills. Anyone else? Behavior. Okay. All of them? Yeah. All right. It is interesting. If you compare English subject to science subject, they are 2 different subjects and the focus are also different. In science subjects, normally, let's say, we learn, the students learn respiratory system. Why they need to learn respiratory system is because the activity will be about respiratory, and then the assessment will also be about it, right? But look at our class, English class. Probably the topic is the same. It's about respiratory system. Let's say animals' respiratory system. Okay, but then the focus is not to make the students, your students, to know a lot about respiratory system of the animal, right? But then how the 4 language skills can be involved and trained to be mastered by using the topic of respiratory system. And if you refer to the suggested teaching approach by the past curriculum and the current curriculum, the 2013 curriculum, and then Curriculum Merdeka, the emancipatory curriculum, then actually the focus remained the same. How to make students master the language, how to make students to communicate in the language or by using the language. So the text or any topic that you use in your teaching should somehow inform not only you, but also your students about what language skills. So basically, it is about skills. What about the knowledge? Let's say one of the aspects of language is grammar. What about grammar? Of course, grammar will be there. Somebody can be considered as knowledgeable because of the knowledge of grammar, right? And then I don't think that if you ask the students to speak in front of the class and then his eye contact is anywhere, doesn't focus to the audience, of course we cannot say that he is skillful, or at least the skillful, the skill of his speaking is not good because of the behavior. So in this particular context, knowledge and behavior should support the students' language skills. But then again, the language skills is or are somehow the focus of the teaching. Yeah. So if you go to any place about language teaching, the focus will be about the skills. Yeah. Right? Okay. Let's take a look at some functions of the language assessment, or we can say testing or assessment. Later on, we can differentiate them anyway. But then I will bring you to the term of assessment in this case. We understand that it is important to diagnose, right? Normally, diagnostic assessment is administered in the beginning, not in the beginning of the semester or in the beginning of the academic semester. Even you can do in the beginning of one particular topic of mastery. What do you expect the students to master? Then you can diagnose them, right? Then along the way, there is a time for students to monitor their progress, and then the teacher can also monitor the progress of their students, so that the teacher may have a knowledge to make further decision whether enrichment or remedial may be needed for the students, right? And once in a while, there is a time for the students to have the examination. Of course, in this case, normally we design within a particular period of time. So that's why you have midterm tests, for instance, or final tests, or final exam, right? Then there is also a time for you to go to your students and to group the students, even though normally you don't specify, all right, this group belongs to high achieving students and the other group belongs to low achieving students. Okay, in some cases, you need to make it confidential so that the student just focus on the learning process, but then you know exactly which students should improve and which students can help their peers to improve, right? The next one, the assessment should somehow predict the success, for instance, of the students. The assessment can inform the teacher in particular to do prediction of what program or what future program that teacher can design for the students. And the last one, which I think is not that popular, it depends on the context. Normally, you need to screen to select students, let's say, for the purpose of English competition, for instance. Let's say there is an invitation of writing or essay writing competition. Then, of course, there is a need for you to do diagnosing, monitoring, and later on giving students training for this kind of assessment. Right? Right. What about you? Which one you think three what's it assessment that you think you do frequently? Can you just share in the chat room the first three? Okay, the first three. Thank you, Fazri. Any more response? Diagnose, examine, predict. Okay. Thank you, Bu Martini. More response? Yes, more response? No more response? Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. Yes. Right. Okay. Actually, I intentionally put the first three. That's the answer. To diagnose, to monitor, and to examine. Normally, those first three are quite frequent in use here for many of the teachers. Right. There are some fundamental principles. I know you are also familiar with them. Transparency, validity, practicality, reliability, accountability, and fairness. Okay? Right. Again, which one you think the first three you would take into your consideration? Yes? Can you again write in the chat box? 3 principles you consider important or needs to prioritize. Right? Thank you. Ibu Yuana, yeah, I think. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Good. Can you mention 3, Bu? Bu Armi and Bu Kuntaryati? Okay, you may also think about the priority skill. Which one is the first? Which one is the second? Which one is the third? Okay. Right. Okay, wonderful. The first one is validity, right? So validity is the first priority because assessment should somehow check or measure what you need to measure. So if you go to your listening class, what to measure then about listening? Most of the time, let's say I remember once I was given a task to do dictation. You know, the teacher read for us sentence by sentence and asked the students to write. Then, of course, in that particular context, there would be sometimes confusion among teachers what to check. Is it about the students' rating or is it about what the students write, right? Then in the past two curricula implemented in the country, if you take a look in detail of the curriculum of the curricula, the focus is about receptive and productive skills. Then actually you can use both. The first one is you can take the listening. Normally listening is about getting information through outspoken language, right? And then the writing is the production of the language in a form of written language performance. So that's why in this particular context, you may think about combining the receptive skills and the productive skills at once. Yeah. You don't have to focus on the listening alone. You don't have to focus on the writing alone, but then you can integrate them. That's why I think the 2013 curriculum and then integrated language teaching. Therefore, you need to be aware of what to measure. If it is the listening comprehension, then it would be what information the students can get, yeah, from the audio information exposed to them. And the writing, of course, it deals with what aspects of writing you expect your students to perform. Make it valid. Okay? Make it valid. The second one is we can prioritize the reliability. Once in a while, we are impressed with the students' performance, uh, but only once or only twice. There is a need for you to check and recheck, to cross-check the students' performance, so that if you grade the students high, then we can count on the result that the students uh, have high performance in the language skills. The third one, of course, which probably is quite popular among assessment issues in the country, is practicalities. So that's why in many schools, paper-based tests is still considered practical and popular, because the focus is that easier for the school management to organize, and then easier for the administration, and later on easier to to collect the information. But then the next point, which I think many fail to fulfill, is it's not that easy to interpret the results. We cannot take for granted, let's say, if the student's performance fall to low scores, then we consider that the students um, have not mastered a particular topic, for instance. Yeah, because the focus is on the language skills, right? Okay. Which one do you think from these three terms you are familiar with? You can say three of them you're familiar, or only one of them, or two of them. You can mention assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning. Which one are you familiar with? Okay. I'm not sure with your answer, Ibu Umi. Three? Okay. I mean, for learning, right? You're most familiar with, yeah. Thank you, Bu Ani. More responses? Of learning. Okay, thank you, Eddie. Yeah. Dr. Good, as learning. Right. More responses? As and for learning. Right. Thank you, Pak Panca. Ya, Pak Panca Fonseca. Yes, Ibu is Henry. Is Henry. Familiar with three of them, but assessment for learning is my favorite. All right, thank you. Okay, very good. Wonderful. Okay. Right. Yes. Thank you. So later on, I guess you can rename it into he or him. Thank you for having me know your name. Yeah. Right, good. Okay, if you do a learning activities, normally you ask the students to do tasks, right? Okay, and the tasks most of the time asking students to do something, right? Actually, that's the simple understanding of making the assessment as learning. So student learn from the task you gave, right? That's assessment as learning. Then throughout the task that you organize, you arrange, you provide the students, actually you scaffold the students' learning, right? So let's say your focus is teaching students listening and speaking, and then you design it, you collect as many tasks as you can, and then you you collect or you design the tasks, and later on you arrange the tasks in a way that students can do the tasks, right? That's what we can understand from assessment as learning. Actually, by having that task, you at once can somehow collect information from the student as well. But normally, I suggest my students, for instance, not to assess the students in the beginning. Yeah. Why? Because normally assessment in the beginning, I mean for grading, but in the beginning or initial learning activity, you can do the assessment to diagnose the students so that you know the baseline of performance of your students, right? That's assessment as learning. The one which I think many of teachers favor is assessment of learning, because we understand that every classroom activities or within classroom activities, there is a time for you to grade the students. Why? Because you are required to report the results of students' learning. There is a so-called learning achievement, right? Every subject is required to report each student's achievement that you teach. Therefore, assessment of learning is quite popular. But again, we need to make sure that it is not a routine alone. Okay, we have to make the information collected throughout the assessment of learning can not only inform you, but also inform the students and even the school about the classroom context, and then the uh, uh, the the future of the classroom instruction later on. Therefore, it is important for us to make sure that assessment for learning happens. From the assessment as learning, we can monitor the students to work during the process of learning, and assessment of learning can see the results within a time frame we design for particular language skills. Then they can inform your teaching later on. So they can inform your students about the learning in the future of your students, right? Thank you for the response. I may ask you for the responses later. Right. The next one, what are the key benefits when we found ourselves know exactly what to do with our assessment? That's why it is labeled as language assessment literacy. Normally, literacy refers to understanding, but a simple word of understanding is not that easy to be understood, because there are connecting elements that you need to be aware of. The first benefits is improved assessment design. In some cases, once we design and then administer the assessment, we know that our assessment is not or cannot cover what you expect to cover of your students' performance. Then it is expected to create assessment that align with learning objectives. So, ladies and gentlemen, my beloved teachers, you may check the assessment, whether your assessment aligned with the objectives. What is the objective? The objective, of course, is about the language skills mastery, the 4 language skills, right? Then you can check whether it measures what it is expected to measure, and you have another way to check whether the student's performance is in line with what you expect, because normally the learning objective or lesson objectives normally are not well informed to the students, or at least in your instructional design, in your lesson plan, you do not involve the students in designing the lesson plan normally, right? Probably few of you do a kind of survey and getting information from your students, and later on you design the instructional, you design the instruction, and then later on you implement it in your own class, right? Then in many cases, we focus on formative assessment. Then when you reach a particular level of language assessment literacy, you can get an enhanced formative assessment practice by having language assessment literacy. You know a lot of things about the assessment that you use, which normally formative in nature. You can use the assessment as tool for learning. So there is a need for your students not only to be high in performance within the classroom context, but they also bring the competence, they bring the knowledge, the skills, and then the behavior later on in the future learning process they do. Therefore, it somehow fosters students' engagement and self-reflection. Ladies and gentlemen, I do also expect that every one of you is also familiar with autonomous learning and then self-regulation. When the students engage in the classroom context, they can reflect individually, then there is a potential for them to be more autonomous and even to be self-regulated in their learning. And we need also to understand feedback normally is a very important part in the classroom context. But normally feedback based on the literature, based on research, teacher feedback is quite popular. Then there is a need for us also to involve students to do feedback throughout self-reflection, throughout peer feedback. But we have to make sure that the feedback is constructive. It is not killing, okay? It is not only sharing negative points only of the students' performance, but how to help students improve in their future learning. And for sure, it should be doable and manageable. It should be actionable. Yeah. We understand that many of us, many teachers may grade the students, may consider the students and compare the students' performance with their performance. So there is a need for us to make sure that the scoring or the grading or the interpretations of the students' performance in line with the level of the students. Right. Next thing is your assessment can inform the decision you can make. This is a quite normal and quite popular among students in my place, for instance, or teachers in my place. When we come to the closing of the classroom activity, normally we give students homework. then there is a need for us to understand what does the homework mean, right? Because normally a session, teaching sessions, or some meeting of teaching should somehow inform the teachers and as well as the students about what to do next. I don't think that every student should get homework, because basically once the learning process is complete, then there would be two results. Group of students may need to have remedial. Why? Because their achievement falls below the expectation. Their achievement below the passing grade. But then there would be some group of students uh, reach higher level of performance, then there is no need for them to have remedials, right? But there is a need for them probably to have enrichment. Okay, so there is a need for us to be well informed from the assessment we can get, we can do. And this sounds very popular, but probably many fall unaware of in implementing the assessment. Ethical and fair assessment. In some parts of our daily routine in designing the assessment, we just design the assessment, but normally we don't focus on how our assessment is equal. It means that we need to understand our students' characteristics, culturally sensitive, whether the students belong to different contexts, different family background, and free from bias. That's why there are some, some informations that you need to select in a way to help your assessment free from bias, and actually to promote inclusivity. This is also quite popular, but I'm not sure recently, because some schools probably invite or offer inclusive education. That's why there is a need for teachers. In this way, we need to consult to a more persons with the expertise of special education, right? And of course, there is a need to have a professional, development and collaboration. And this is one way that we can do to make our assessment strategy better, and then to contribute to our teaching in the future. Right. There are some facts and challenges, which actually few things implicitly I have stated in my presentation. Normally, our tests or our examination tend to be standardized and structured. As I mentioned, the test format is mostly paper-based, right? In the meantime, we need also to check our students' listening and speaking, which probably cannot be or not practically manageable in the paper-based tests, right? So there is a need for us to make sure that we can also accommodate this in our daily teachings. Why it should be, or why it is paper-based? Because it is quantifiable. It's easier to manage, even if you do it in Google Form, for instance. The results can be calculated and quantified easily, right? Okay, by the help of the machine. And normally, because the schools design a particular time for the assessment, then it is a time constraint. Yeah, normally tests are conducted within a fixed duration. Next week, for instance, for the final exam, it is designed for 1 week only. And be careful with that the assessment is considered high stakes, deciding or determining student success. Yeah. Therefore, you need to make sure that it is not the only assessment that can make decision, or it is not the only assessment that can determine somebody's future life. Yeah. So that's why there are some strategies that you can work on it. Number one is portfolio assessment. You can collect students' work over time. Let's say in reading particular texts, ask the students to not only to collect texts, but also once in a while ask them to write or then to share what they have read based on the texts, right? To show the progress, of course. Then there is a need to encourage self-assessment and peer assessment, but of course, we need to make sure that the students know exactly what to do in the self-assessment and peer assessment. Yeah. Even in the beginning of the classroom session, let's say in the beginning of academic year, we need to inform the students what they will learn and how they will be assessed. Yeah. And there is also a time for us to do observational assessment, which, as we are aware of, we can also observe the students through their behavior in the classroom, right? Through the classroom interaction, whether the students, let's say if they are working in groups, they work as we expect. And then there is a need to have a kind of focus group discussion, for instance, to have dialogic reflection. In many schools in Indonesia in particular, discussions are not that popular. And there is a need for us as teachers to have this ability of working with dialogic reflection, a dialogue to reflect the assessment. Right, I will skip some points and okay, look at this. I think it is quite popular. Probably many of you use this in your classroom context. If you take a look at this, probably the focus is on vocabulary alone. But then, as teacher, we can develop how this task, for instance, let's say recently, in the past two curricula implemented in the country, we have texts to help students learn English. We have texts to help students master the foreign language skills. Let's say by having students to, let's say, it is coffee, the coffee is bitter. But then you can extend, it is coffee is bitter, and I don't like bitter coffee, right? Then you can extend, it is coffee is bitter, I don't like bitter coffee, I like putting some sugar into my coffee. Then you can extend, right? And then what else? Was it the I think the picture below right of the coffee is honey. Honey. Okay, we need to understand sometimes, let's say if you are talking about cheese, probably if you know a lot about cheese, a culture of cheese, there are plenty of cheese. Probably what we can understand about cheese, generally it is salty, for instance. Yeah. But then we can later on introduce students that probably some cheese is not hot, salty. Probably some cheese also sweet, but you can discuss further about this, right? So you can think about extended activities with this. And it also happened to this. Asking students to circle from the jumble letters, and then later on ask them to do something with this. Let's say you write the word and then use the word in a sentence in writing. So probably many of them keep silent, finding the words, and then later on doing something with the words they found based on the picture. Ice cream. I like ice cream. I like vanilla ice cream. My my mother always gives me vanilla ice cream, and so on and so forth. Right? I like noodle. My favorite noodle is probably they mentioned about the brand, or my favorite noodle is what's it? Onion noodle, and so on and so forth. Right? I like meatball. In my place, there is Mang Ujang selling a delicious meatball. It is cheap. It is okay, and so on and so forth. Then you can also change the text. It depends on what text that you are teaching. Let's say if you okay, just now I just focus on describing. I like meatball. Why I like meatball? Because okay, you're talking about an exposition, right? Some people like meatball and some other do not like people. Those who like people is because, and then you mention about the pros, and those who do not meatball are due to, and then you can mention about the cons. Then you change, you change the text. So the text there is only to help students to communicate uh, with the language. And you can do this simple activities, just naming, but then you can extend the communication activities. Yeah. And then you can also do this, in emancipatory curriculum, we are introduced with viewing, right? Doing visual thing, yeah. Just to bridge students' understanding that text is not only words written, but also pictures, symbols, spoken, written, gestures, and many other types of text, right? Then we can ask further. For instance, the bedroom is behind the kitchen. Then you can extend whether it is spoken or written. The bedroom is behind the kitchen. Because the focus is the bedroom. Probably some students miss to understand this. The bedroom is behind the kitchen. The kitchen is, well, the kitchen has things on the in it, for instance. Then the focus changes from the bedroom into the kitchen. Then there is a time for us to give feedback in this particular case, right? And this one probably is easier, but then we need to teach our students as well about how to use the information, whether it is written or visual, visual in terms of words, and then visual in terms of the picture or figures. Then how to combine them in a way to communicate the information in spoken or in written. And this one is more complicated, perhaps. Yeah, I think many of you have used this picture from textbooks. Yeah. Then you can change in a way you can use any technology, but the most important one is how to make this into a good task, and then you can make use of these activities as a part of your assessment, and it can help you getting information from your students, and the students can also perform more about the use of the language in their practice. All right. You can also use video like this. Okay. Probably this is my reminder. If you use YouTube, for instance, make sure you download it, and then of course, you cannot just play 3 minutes, 13 seconds there, yeah, as a part of the activity. You need to think about how to segment them in a way to help students to do a particular task as you have designed, right? So if you use YouTube, please download it first, and then later on attach it to which task that you want your students to do. And okay, it does the same thing. So the students are not only introduced with the words or phrase, yeah, words, wavy hair, and then phrase wavy hair, straight hair, curly hair, but then later on, how they make use of even simple word or simple phrase into a language that they can communicate. Okay, 3 minutes 43 seconds would be quite long, but if you can manage it in a way to help students learn, may be helpful. And it is also good, yeah, from a video, the same video as I showed you previously. Then probably later on your students will have this, yeah. There's a picture showing a picture. She's tall, thin, and young. She has short wavy hair. There are some language features that you need to be aware of there. Okay, one she is, the second one she has, right? And then there are some quantifier over there, and so on and so forth. So we need to design assessment as learning, okay, so that you can get assessment of learning, and later on you can think about assessment for learning. Thank you very much.
Okay, very interesting and insightful presentation. Thank you very much,
you.
Mr. Yusuf. And Mr. Yusuf, there are already two questions from the chat box. The first one is from Ibu Parmila. Do you have, wait a minute. Do you have any example of test models that suit the demand of the current curriculum? And then the second one is from Ibu Sri Sarsiati by asking question, are validity and reliability still needed now? Because there are many IT tools like ChatGPT, Breeze, Gemini, etc. And how do we know that the test items created by the IT have fulfilled the two of the requirements of designing tests? Maybe you can answer this question
Right. Thank
first.
you for the questions. The first one from Ibu, I'm not sure.
Parmila.
The name is Beta Bantul.
Oh.
I think the administrator, yeah.
Hmm.
I cannot, Ibu, or Bapak, yeah. When you ask, sorry, not this one. From Ibu Parmila, yeah.
Parmila.
Okay. It is not an easy question or easy what is a task to fulfill. Normally, we need to know the lesson objective you're teaching. What lesson objective you're teaching? I think you're always assigned to design your lesson in the beginning of academic year, even though many of us are in rush working with them, right? Buru-buru mengerjakannya, right? Because of some reasons, let's say in a week or in 2 weeks, then normally we focus on what to teach. So basically, I would say there are three important things that we need to understand about our teaching. The first one, sure, that's normally what the curriculum asks. The first one is what to teach, right? So this is one thing that I need to highlight, ladies and gentlemen. What to teach in our English classroom is different from what to teach in science classroom, in social science classroom, in maths classrooms, and other classrooms. Why? Because in those classrooms, basically, they focus on the knowledge. So that's why they will teach the knowledge, they will transfer the knowledge, and during the activity, the knowledge will be trained to be mastered by the students, and the assessment will deal with about the knowledge. But in our classroom context, normally there are texts that can help us to teach, but then the texts are only the tool for you to teach the students and for the students to learn how to master the language skills. So there is a slight difference, ladies and gentlemen, to understand about the teaching of English. So if you focus on the curricula or the existing curriculum, then there is a need for you to understand that the focus is not about what text that you are teaching. No, the texts there are for you to help you to teach. That's one. And to help you to help your students learn. Okay, so that's why the assessment in that way will help you to help your students to reach the learning objective that you have designed. So first thing first, I need to know what lesson objectives you have in your teaching, Bapak Ibu. Yeah, I cannot just take for granted. Let's say we have Buku Nusantara or books, actually the books published by the government are kind of books, recommended books, but this recommendation or these recommended books are for you to help you design your own teaching materials. Okay, remember, it is not like, for instance, I should mention this Cambridge textbook. If you use Cambridge textbook, then actually you are following Cambridge curriculum. If you use IB textbook, then actually you are following IB curriculum. But in our context, if you follow the government textbook, you are not applying the national curriculum. Your job in this particular context is to focus on materials adaptation, how to adapt materials provided in the textbook and other sources. I think many of you have many books. Yeah, let's say the books. Actually, David Union says it is not textbook but course book. That's why we have student course book and teacher textbook. Yeah, or teacher book or manual. There is a need for you to adapt, not necessarily to follow chapter by chapter, exercise by exercise, but we need to understand that the textbook or the course book is provided for you to help you design your own instruction. All right? So the activity provided in the course book can somehow help you as long as you match the activities to your students' characteristics. you confirm whether the activities are in line with your learning objectives to help your students later on. All right? I hope it answers your question. And then the second
question.
one, right. I believe that everyone agrees with me that technology helps. We are living in technology world, but some of us are technology savvy and some others may probably hate technology. If you want to use technology, I think it is absolutely fine. But of course, your critical thinking should apply as well. If you ask your students, even your students can use those technology things because this is IoT era, yeah, Internet of Things era. Everything is internet based. Even if you provide, let's say, the icon that I show you in my background, Gedung Isola Parter, and then they can browse, and at once, within seconds, they can get as many information from it, even by using ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot. For instance, you're introduced with the chat PDF, for instance. If you have the PDF and then you can ask the AI or the website to create tasks or text and so forth, right? But of course, it is your responsibility and it is your job to make sure that the task is in line with your students' characteristics. I believe you still can play your own role, yeah, as a teacher, because you know much better than others about the students. So it is our job and our responsibility to somehow protect our students, yeah, with all things about technology. Again, we cannot deny the use of technology in our learning. If there are some controversies in the use, yes, of course, I think everything in the world brings controversies. But then the next point is how we deal with the technology in particular to help us our daily teaching routine, and then for sure to help our students learn. All right.
Thank you, Pak Yusuf, for the response. And also thank you, Bu Parmila and Bu Sri Sarjati for the question. Next, we still have question. The third one is from Bu Army. Which one is the most effective way to assess student achievement in order to put the score in report results?
Right. It is intriguing question. Frankly speaking, I have to tell you the truth. I do not know a lot about the reporting issue lately. But then, of course, because your responsibility as the curriculum translator, there is a need for you to define that your classroom activities should somehow address the four language skills. So make sure, number one, you collect the students' information not only from reading and writing, but also from listening and speaking as well. So think about designing activities, learning activities for your students to involve those four language skills. Of course, not necessary to cover all in one session or two sessions, but think about integrating them. Once in a while, you can have listening and speaking. Another time, you can have listening and writing, or even you can have listening, reading, and writing, or reading, listening, and speaking. It's up to you. But then you know exactly what to assess. You know exactly how to scaffold your students. You know exactly how to help your students achieve the expected outcome, right? Okay, I
The next
expect it
from
answers the
Bapak
question.
I Gede Arga. How
All
can
right.
language assessment be used to support rather than judge the children?
Judgment is natural, I would say. But how to convert or how to shift from the judgment, because judgment is making decision, right? And it can be shifted into a support. So it is not only to judge, it is only a matter of how you emotionally behave, the assessment that you are using. So are you going to say that your students is good or not? High achieving or low achieving students? Or are you going to help your high achieving students with, let's say, having a group work, having was it a peer assessment or having peer coaching, for instance, helping low achieving students by the help of high achieving students in the classroom? I think it is also, again, how you interact with the assessment and then your emotional traits in this case, I would say. Ibu or Bapak? Sorry.
Bapak, ya.
Bapak, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
There is a question from Martini, Bu Martini. Please give me the tips to design ideal assessment that can measure student skill appropriately. I feel that children can answer our test correctly, but it cannot measure their skills.
All right.
When we investigate more, they use many tools to help them do their exams or tasks. Thank
All
you,
right.
Pak Yusuf.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
If your assessment cannot measure the skills of the students, we can judge now that your assessment is not valid. Then if you do not trust your own assessment about a group of individuals, then you can use another instrument to assess them. Of course, in this particular case, it is not a mistrust. We do not trust the achievement of the students, but we need to make sure. That's what we call it as reliability check, to check the students, right? Okay, so that's why it is important for you to have a kind of multiple tools to use to check the students. As I suggest in my presentation, strategies like portfolios, for instance, can somehow help. Let's say one meeting, probably you can find some students can perform not better, but later on their performance is getting better and better and better. You need to put your trust that it is the development of their language skills. Okay, so there is also a need to have a trust to your students' development. Yeah.
Okay. From Ibu Army, excuse me, is there any recording for? Oh, sorry. Sorry, it's not a question for
All right.
Mr. Yusuf. Any more question? Is
In
it
case
enough?
you want to raise hand, you can
Yeah.
use
You
raise
may
hand
raise
feature.
hand or just write on the chat board. No more? Is it enough?
Okay, I hope every one of you can join me later on. Yeah, to have those things that you question me in the workshop later on. Yeah, I hope.
Okay. I will count till 3. You don't have questions, so it is enough for our discussion. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think that's enough. Yeah. Thank you for Mr. Yusuf and also for the participant today. And it is a wonderful presentation from Mr. Yusuf. And before closing, I will read some important points that must be remembered. The first one is about assessment should be organized systematically. Assessment should be administered to individual or groups, and assessments should be to make decision. And there are some fundamental principles, that is validity, reliability, and practicality. And what is the function of assessment is to diagnose, monitor, and to examine. And we can assess knowledge, skill, and also behavior. Thank you very much, everyone. Before closing, let's take a picture of our activity today. So please open your camera, everyone. Bapak Ibu. Yeah.
Oh, there are teachers from Batang as well, yeah. All right, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, please give your nice smile, everyone. And Kurama, please take a picture.
Okay, I'll count 1, 2, and 3, yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, smile.
Okay.
The next slide, yeah.
Okay. The
The
next
next,
slide.
yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Is that enough? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bu Rahma. Okay, Bapak Ibu, let's continue to our last agenda, that is closing. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to thank all of you for your time and participation today. A big thank you as well to our speaker, Dr. Fazri Nur Yusuf, M.Pd, for sharing such valuable knowledge. Before you leave, please don't forget to fill the attendance form provided in the chat box. And please stay safe, stay inspired, and we hope to see you again at our next event.
Ibu
Once
Hanifah, may I have
again,
a word?
yeah,
May I have a word?
yeah, okay.
All right. Again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you especially to Ibu Ismi and then the Board of Teacher Association of Bantul. It's an honor for me to be here, and then I do expect that we can have a meeting in the future time. Again, thank you, and see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you.
Mr.
Thank you very
Yusuf.
much.
Once again, I'm Hanifah Riastiti signing off. Have a wonderful day ahead. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Contohnya Bapak Ibu kayak kalkulator hitung ini, tapi Bapak Ibu bisa jelaskan ya langkah demi langkah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Ya mungkin seperti ini ya.
Yeah.
Thank you for Beta Bantul for the information.
Ini Pak, berarti pertemuan kita bisa hari Kamis ya, berarti. Kita discuss di ini ya nanti. Di grup.
Gimana?
Pertemuannya hari Kamis besok ya, berarti.
Kamis.
Tanggal berapa?
Kamis.
Nanti discuss di grup aja deh.
Oh.
Oke.
Mau aja diskusinya belum paham aku.
Oke, thank you.
Oke,
Mohon maaf.
makasih Bu Sri, Bumi.
Terima kasih semua.
Terima kasih semuanya.